My name's Emily Watson. I'm one of the owners here and the head of sales and marketing. I'm joined by Blake Brennan.
Hey, everybody.
Blake's the head of our sales here at JC Watson. We're going to just get our presentation up here. Perfect. So if you guys have any questions during the presentation, feel free to just jump on and ask. We're really excited to have everybody here and excited to show you what we've been up to. So we really wanted to make a training that was beneficial for everybody on here, whether you're a distributor, whether you're with ProAct, if you're on your sales side or procurement side. So we really hope that we could put something together that'll help a little bit of everybody here. So we first kind of just wanted to see who was in the audience. So whichever one best describes you, go ahead and enter it here.
Folks are furiously answering. So it looks like the majority are buyer and procurement, followed by distribution and sales.
Perfect. Okay.
Very cool.
All right. So first of all, we wanted to talk a little bit why onions matter. A lot of people think that onions, are just a high volume commodity, but we wanted to kind of share a few things that I think will help make the buying easier in terms of labor, yield, shrink, and just your overall downstream customer satisfaction. One thing we really focus on here is getting, dug down deep into what the actual size and quality your customers are wanting. We focus on internal and external characteristics, whether that be a single center onion for onion rings or any kind of size variance that a specific chain's needing. And then also we really want to focus on what the proper care and handling of that onion is after you guys receive it. So a little bit about JC Watson. We're a family-owned grower, shipper, operator here. We do work with some other growers, but the main part of our farm is focused on what we grow here in the Watson family. So we are a fourth generation grower, currently being operated by myself, my brother, and my husband. My husband runs the farming portion. I'm running the marketing and sales and the packing. And then my brother oversees kind of the development and growing of our farm. So we started back in 1912. We originally focused on some tree crops here. We were actually the first grower to utilize the UP rail system. So we started growing lettuce, plums, apples, all kinds of wet veg here. And then we recently started focusing on onions back into the 60s. We have developed a grower network here where we're working with generational growers here. We have 3 growers that are in their 5th generation of growing onions the last 3 generations here. And the main thing we've kind of focused on here, being a grower operator, is our technology and developing new facility and growing practices here. So obviously we're located in Idaho. Idaho's kind of our bread and butter of what we do. The best reason why onions are grown and harvested here is because of the growing conditions and where we're located. So Idaho onions are kind of grown on the border of the Snake River Valley, and that's one reason why our ground's so fertile here. So we actually have farms on the Idaho side and the Oregon side. And you can kind of see here, long day onion growing regions are grown during the longest part of the days. So that's why these are called long day onions. So Idaho has really warm temperatures during the day, and then we cool down at night, and this is ideal growing conditions for onions. So during kind of the June, July seasons, we have sunlight from 6 a.m. all the way till 10 p.m. And this is what allows us to get the big onions here with the single centers and the large bulbs up to the super colossal size. So another reason here during our harvest conditions, when these onions are starting to cure, our weather, because we are dry, high desert, allows us to do a curing process out in the field. So we're able to grow the onions here. We go under and lift them underneath. We open up the fields, and then we're able to allow these onions to cure out in the field. So these onions are going to be lifted, shut off from water for 2 to 3 weeks in the field and dried and cured. And that's what's going to give you that nice appearance like the onions we have to the right here. So that's going to allow the onions to kind of shut down the growing. They're going to grow that nice dark skin on the outside. And that's what's going to allow these onions to be able to store from, September harvest here until May storage conditions. So we use these top air harvesters, and after the onions have been stored and cured, they get run through here and the top layer of those leaves come off. And then they're put into these trucks and sent to a binning station or a bulk station to begin the storing process. So red onions and yellow onions are harvested pretty similar here. You can see we windrow them, put them in the rows. We have usually 1 to 2 people on the harvesters, picking out clods. They're put into these 10-wheelers or semis and taken to our binning stations. So our first kind of question of the day is, what stage helps prepare onions for longer storage? Washing, curing, freezing, or sealing?
People guessed right, curing.
Perfect. So yeah, curing is the most important process of a storage onion. So ideally we want to do it out in the field during kind of our standard harvest here, September, October. But we also do a curing process for white onions and early onions here in August as well. So we use some of our storages to simulate the curing process, but overall what we want to do is dry down all the skins, take the moisture out of the leaves, make sure that we have a dry surface here to work with. And this allows us to go into storage and be free of any kind of disease, moisture that is really going to harm the onion. So the biggest part we really try to tell all of our customers about storing onions is limiting the moisture that onions have. So most important thing about when we're putting them into these big buildings is to get any kind of dry or wet matter out, make sure they're completely dried down. And if they're not, when we're in the early part of storage, then we're going to put them into these big storages here and do that process for them. So these storages have 6 different zones. It allows us to put the onions in bins, close off the ends of the bins, and we can do a whole curing process in here where we heat the onions up, blow air on them, dry them out, and then cool them back down to kind of simulate what happens out in the field. So curing for our onions is by far the most important part of the process for a storage onion. So what is the biggest enemy of an onion storage quality? Airflow, excess moisture, proper rotation, or clean storage areas? Did we get it?
Yeah, sorry, excess moisture was the correct answer, and they answered it correctly.
Okay. So our most exciting project we did last year was our first season in our new shed located in Wilder, Idaho. It's about 12 miles from our other packing facility we have here in Parma. So we were able to build a brand new AI technology eCraft 8-lane packing line. So this is kind of the start of it. You can see that's where the grading happens, and then down on the floor off of the mezzanine is where all the automated bagging happening. So this also allowed us to have a lot more internal and external quality checks. And then also all of these baggers have taken away 20 to 30% of our labor because we don't do hand-tied bags anymore. So we put in 4 automated baggers, 2 carton fillers, 2 more small bag equipments here, and then we have 4 different tote fillers that we're able to increase our efficiency here. So eCraft is a line that we went with. They've partnered with Biomedic, which is an AI camera system. So once the onions go onto the cups, they get 3 different sets of pictures taken of them. They get a top external, a bottom external, and then they shine light through the bottoms of those cups where the holes are, and it's able to send light through the onions and able for us to take a picture of the inside of the onion. So this technology is, as we grow over the next few seasons, is going to capture all the information and start training the program about our current defects if we have any kind of internal problems for the year. And it's going to bank them, and it's going to train the program to start sorting out the bad onions and keeping the good onions in. There's currently 6 of these lines in the United States now. They're currently putting 2 more in this season. It's probably the most state-of-the-art onion grader on the market right now. So we have 8 lanes. So we're still operating our other facility, but this should allow us to increase our efficiency by 20 to 30%. And also increase our volume over this coming season by 30% as well. So the biggest reason why we put this in is we really want to focus on narrowing down our size grade packs. We find that giving customers the most tight specs possible really allows the highest level of customer satisfaction. So doing this, we really want to work with ProAct on their national concepts and be able to figure out exactly what people are wanting, whether it's a big jumbo, a small jumbo, if we need single centers, if they're able to take a peeler type onion, a number 2 onion. This will allow us to have several different SKUs out of one lot. So this has been a huge gain for us. This has allowed us to sort onions by the actual circumference of the onion and not just the size. So it's been a huge efficiency gain for us here over the last season. So another exciting thing we've had going the last few years, I know some of you are utilizing this, but we do have a cross-dock facility in Elk Grove Village, Illinois. This is just right outside of Chicago. So we're currently using this facility. It's a 60,000 square foot warehouse. And we are loading our own onions from our Wilder facility to Chicago. So you're able to ship out of Chicago with our entire product lineup. But we've also partnered with some potato sheds as well. So you can see on the floor here, we do have potato cross-docking as well. So what we're doing here is we're loading 4.3 truckload equivalents onto a rail car. We palletize it. We put dunnage on the car. It lands in Elk Grove Village. We're able to unload it. We climatize it on the floor for 24 hours. We have fans that allow us to take all the moisture off that's condensated from the reefer units of the rail cars. And then we're able to mix and load specific loads out of Chicago. It's really been a huge help for us from a freight perspective over the last few seasons, and especially going into this one. So we've actually been able to offer contracted rates to offer out pricing FOB Chicago for some of our contract business. So this has been really exciting for us. We can get to the East Coast in 2 days.
2 days.
We've got enough customer base here where we're able to have a huge rotation and a huge offering of product for spot purchases as well. and have able to make some really good partners with freight carriers here to get the product Chicago and east of Chicago. So this has been a really excited project for us. We've worked with a lot of potato shippers as well to support potato loads. And then if we need a combo load as well, we've been able to load partial onion potato loads off this dock currently. Is there anybody on who is currently using the Elk Grove facility? No. So with our storage season and our main Idaho season and adding in Chicago, that's kind of our core storage crop. That again starts in the beginning of August, and we typically try to make that through the beginning to middle of May. We do have a lot of different key relationships and have really been trying to plan transitions with our partners there. So while this is kind of our key stake here in Idaho, managing people's transition and making those key relationships with a lot of other areas has been a big part of our program. So you can see we have our two facilities in Idaho. We have our Parma and our Wilder facility. You can see our Elk Grove facility out in Chicago as well. But then we've built several relationships focusing mostly in California. So we have 2 to 3 growers per region so that we can kind of manage any kind of shortages that we're having, which are happening right now. So we've really made it a key for us to have 2 to 3 growers in each region so that we can shift people when there are shortages during the summer crop. So we do have partnerships with people in California. We have a partner in Nevada, 2 shippers out of New Mexico, and some shippers down in South Texas as well. So this kind of just gives an idea of kind of where our transition is. Our goal in Idaho is to overlap on both sides of the transition so we can allow for a smooth transition from all the regions. So we typically start shipping off of our Parma dock August 1st and try to get through beginning to middle of May here in Idaho. Then we transition to El Centro, California. That typically starts 20th to 25th of April and goes into the beginning of June. We then move up to Fireball, California. That's usually a June 1st start, and that goes usually to the middle or end of August. And then kind of crossing over with both of those is New Mexico, starting with Mexican grown crop middle of May, and then getting into the product of US crop starting June 1st, and then crossing over to the middle or end of August. So our goal really here is to be able to transition, at least 2 weeks over each side of the transition with our grower partners. A big question that we get asked a lot on is, and it's always a big surprise when we transition from our storage crop to our fresh crop. Typically, we're keeping our best product in our storage that's going to store the longest. So you'll see on the right there, the stuff that you're going to be getting in March and April and May is going to be a nice hard skin. It's going to be very cured. It's going to have that several layers of the protective outer coat of it. Typically, these are going to be in cold storage. So the temperature of these onions are going to be significantly different because they've been held in a cold storage temperature controlled, usually between 38 and 42 degrees. So a big thing that you'll see when you start moving to your summer crop are these onions on the left here. They have little skin. They're always lighter in color. They have a lot more water content to them, so they're going to be a lot softer. They're typically harvested in anywhere from 90 to 110 degree temperatures. So the core temps of these onions are going to be significantly warmer. And these require a lot more careful handling. The storage in downstream facilities is going to be shorter. There's going to be a bigger tendency to get mold on any kind of condensation that comes on these. And the overall shelf life of these crops is going to be significantly shorter. So we always try to urge people when they are making the transition to prepare for that try to do shorter turnovers in your facility as well as your customer's facility, and just encourage you to communicate with your customers that these are completely different onions. So fresh crop onion is grown when the days are short, so the onion doesn't have the legs that a storage crop does. And they are harvesting every day to ship every day. So these onions are only going to be sitting on the floor for 1 to 5 days down in these summer locations. So the turn on these onions are significantly shorter. So why do regional transitions matter? The appearance can change, size and ability can shift, and storage expectations can change.
People are answering mostly all of the above.
Perfect. So coming out of the summer too, the sizing isn't quite, I would say, as accurate as it is coming out of the storage crop. But this kind of just gives you an overall overview of the sizes that we have. This can be sent out to anybody. We have handouts with this on it as well. But this is kind of just your general USDA sizing guide for yellows, reds, and whites. We do some different types of jumbo crops in our Northwest season here. We have 3 different sizes of jumbos, but this is just your standard USDA for all of the different sizes. And you can see at the top kind of our different offerings we have. We currently are offering cartons, bags, totes. We have stickers available for any kind of retail needs. We're doing 40, 50, 25-pound cartons. And we do everything from 50-pound bags to 2-pound bags, and then 2,000 and 3,000-pound totes as well for any kind of processing. So why does size matter to wholesale customers? Labor prep, yield, portion control, or all of the above?
Everyone's answering all of the above.
I think these were too easy.
Blake was trying to set people up for success.
I know. He's nicer than I am. Okay, so shipping and receiving, storage and handling. We also get a lot of questions on this. While we would all like you guys to have a storage like you see on the right here, that's not always the case. But we do hope that you can avoid some problems down the road with just doing a few things to kind of help onions along the way. A big problem that we see out of California is trailers mostly not being dry. Or if you're shipping with any other kind of wet veg coming out of California, we've noticed that this is pretty tough on onions. So we try to limit, mixing onions with, really cold, wet veg, just because of the condensation, and it can cause a lot of surface mold. But if you do have to share a trailer with that, we do have some options down in California to avoid any problems. So what we will have to do if you do that is pre-cool the onions, and then we have to wrap the side of the onions that are adjacent to the other veg that's in there. So the biggest issue that we find is avoiding condensation with any of this wet product. So wrapping that can definitely help. This also is super helpful when you're storing onions inside of your warehouses. We found that temperature isn't as important as the amount of moisture in the air. So when you're getting late crop onions that might have some translucency, we found that just any kind of air movement or just a simple floor fan will really help this. And also this helps from generating any kind of that surface mold when you get condensation on the outside of those onions. So inspecting the product when it arrives is another huge thing for us, especially when we're working with partner growers down in California. Taking that product out, inspecting it, checking, making sure it's dry, making sure there's no issues. And we do find if there is an issue, finding that lot code so we can get that communicated as soon as possible. We really would like to get all of our issues communicated within 48 hours of receival. Does anybody have questions on that? So
Don't think
grading.
so. I don't think so.
Okay. So grading and quality inspection. So in our facilities, we do have USDA inspectors on site at all times that we're packing. But we also have a QC team that is taking pictures of every single lot and every single pack that we're doing on our line. Our new line has allowed us to be able to pull directly after it's been put to that specific SKU. So we're able to pull samples directly off of our line onto our sample table by our controllers. So we have a team that is inspecting it above packs, and then we also have a team that's inspecting it below packs. So we can pull out what our internal cameras are pulling out. We can pull samples what our external cameras are pulling out. And so we're taking percentages of how much of the bad product is bad and how much of the good product is good. And if there's any issues, that can get communicated to our controller in real time. And then these inspection tables below, we have a team of 6 girls that is inspecting every SKU once it's packed into the either carton or bag. And so we have a program where it's taking a count, a size, an internal, an external. You can see up here, they're peeling back to see if there's any kind of mold underneath the skins. We're doing internal checks on all onions. So we do 100% cut on every single bag that we're running for the day, just to figure out exactly what kind of problems we have. And so this is why we really encourage people to get a lot code, because then we can go back to the day it was packed and see exactly what we were seeing during the pack time if there was any kind of issue upon pack time. So all of these pictures that we're gathering here are going into our AI system and capturing it. The computer takes a picture of the entire defect here, and then it's going to draw along the outside and instruct the camera on what we're considering a defect, whether it's mold, sprouting, any kind of sunburn or soft spots. So you'll see this red onion on the side. They're going to draw a picture of this exact defect, and it's going to go bank into the AI system and train the system to pull this out in the future. Another big issue that we talk about a lot here on the storage is translucency, and kind of what you see once these onions have been in storage for some time. Usually around March and April, we get some questions from customers in regards to translucency. And typically what we kind of see is after the onions are packed, after they're taken out of that cold environment, they can kind of get banged around a little bit. But once they're packed, put on the floor and have fans to them, these fans will pull out that moisture that you're seeing with these, small spots of translucency. But for an onion to be graded as a translucent, as a defect, the onion you'll see here on the right side has a full ring around, and it's discolored. So this one on the right side is a fully defective translucent onion, but these ones on the left where it's not 2 full rings around is not considered a USDA defect. But any of these, small translucent areas on the onion here that you'll see, if you can put fans to these, a lot of that air will suck the moisture out of these and decrease the appearance of that translucency before you ship it to your customers. This is one reason why Chicago's been really great for us, is because it's been kind of a midpoint where we've been able to pull the product out, let it sit on the floor. We run our fans over it for a day or two. And this has been a huge benefit to our customers there. So again, focusing on where your customers keep them and where you guys are keeping your onions. The biggest thing that we try to encourage is keep your onions in a dry area. Even if it's not as temperature controlled, the dryness and well ventilated ambient air is much more important than the temperature of the coolers. We obviously encourage rotating inventory, keeping product off of wet floors, and just making sure that you're inspecting your product regularly. Another issue that we've been seeing is if you're pulling bags off of pallets and then rewrapping it with saran wrap or any kind of wrap that isn't ventilated. So onions really do not like to be trapped with no airflow. So when you're rewrapping product, just making sure you're using product with some kind of holes or perforation in it to allow for airflow. Our troubleshooting timeline, again, we've really been trying to, listen to what you guys are seeing, figuring out what kind of storage conditions you have, seeing if it was a problem with the onion, and figuring out what we need to do. Our growers really do, when there is an issue with their onion, want to see photos and see, what the issue is, just for us to take back to our growers. So when you do have an issue, we want to see pictures, and then we also want to see the lot code. So if we can really get it, were you seeing this issue right at receiving? Were you storing it in a place where it could get some air? And then just a picture of the issue, and then we can take care of the issue as soon as possible. We're happy to take care of any issues that we have, but we really do want to provide back to our growers what the issue was it their onion on your load, and what we were seeing. So the sooner we have this issue documented, the better for us, and we can solve the issue as quickly as possible. So why do we want to choose JC Watson as your main ProAct supplier? I do think our heritage is a huge part of who we are and what we do here. We are family owned, so we are very a flat aligned company. We do have moved to a complete onion specialization here. Our main crop that we grow and rotate here is onions. We've been specialized on onions since 2003. And we don't have anybody else selling our products. So the ones that are growing it, the ones we're there through the whole step of the way, from the seed planting to the harvest to the selling. We've really advanced our technology with this new packing shed. So we hope that you'll see the benefits of the dynamic sizing and our sorting. And then our year-round program, we feel like we have really created great partnerships and work well with those people. We send our team down there as well to support them. We send our equipment down there and have found, multiple avenues in every single region to give you guys the level of support you need, so you don't have any gaps with in your supply for the whole year. So we are excited to work with ProAct as usual, and hope that you guys feel the same way. Thank you guys for your time. I know this was a lot of information, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us or ask now or whenever you guys want. And again, we appreciate the partnership that we have with ProAct and you guys.
We do have a question about, is there information on your website about your sustainability practices, and what can you share or feel you're most proud of from your sustainability initiatives?
Yes, we do have some of our information on our website on sustainability. I would say the biggest thing that we do in the field is we do a ton of cover crop rotating. So with all of our onion acres, we're using an entire season of cover crop that gets then disked back into the ground. And we do a lot of land swapping with other growers so that we're maintaining that 4 to 5 year transition on all of our ground. So I would say our farming practices are really heavily focused on sustainability. And we're farming ground that we've had, in our family since back in 1950s. So that's a huge part that we're proud of. So yeah, if you go onto our website under farming, you can kind of see some information on our growing practices. I think the other thing that we do really well is we utilize all different levels of our crop. So we have users that are using all different grades. We really don't throw away very much of our onion crop. We do a lot with people who are processing. We have a lot of people who are cooking it. We have a lot of people who are doing, different things with all different quality levels of our crop. And then I think the other thing is probably our water conservation. We've utilized wells on some of our ground. We've done a lot of work with the USDA on conserving water and cleaning up water that's along the Snake River. So water conservation, utilizing all drip irrigation is probably some of the highlights of that.
We have another question. Can you provide sizing templates for receiving teams on a case-by-case basis?
What do you mean on a case-by-case basis? Like,
That is a good question.
I mean, I can provide sizing templates, yes.
Sounds good. Another question says, you mentioned your new facility and technology. What specific defects can the AI system identify if that is being used?
I think most importantly, the internal defects is probably what they're focusing on the most. So our last packing facility had internal defects, but it really struggled to get it if it was just kind of at the top of the onion. So right now they're really trying to focus on, how they're going to get multiple different pictures to be able to capture the internal defects. The one we're working on specifically this week is we're bringing up onions from California and focusing on how to minimize sunbird damage, which what we usually see that just in our early crop here. So the crop that we're harvesting in August. So that sunburn kind of looks like a dry sunken area that you'll see in the crop. So they'll be able to identify the difference between a sunburn versus just a bruise, or any kind of defect you'll see when the onion does get damaged from the sun. It does all kinds of external cuts. They're also working on a black mold program right now. So if there is any visible black mold, specifically in whites and yellows, it's working to identify that as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Another question, do you expect water concerns in Idaho to impact upcoming storage onion season?
I do think there is some water concern. I think the biggest concerns that we're seeing for this upcoming season is probably in the potato region, so more eastern Idaho. We had to do some kind of transition to what fields we were growing this year for water concerns. Just kind of preemptively seeing the snowpack that we had, we just did some shifting because we're growing from Oregon all the way to closer to Boise. So we kind of have a 50-mile area that we're growing in. And different parts of our fields are supplied by wells or the Snake River or different tributaries. So I do not think it will be an issue for our crop this season. There were definitely some people who had some rotation issues that had to make some changes. But I would say the main concern that you're hearing is probably more from the potato side.
Perfect. I think those were all the questions that we had. Thank you, Blake and Emily. This was very informative. I learned a lot about onions. So thank you so much for putting this together. And for all of you attending, thank you for your participation, and be on the lookout for our next supplier training.
Perfect. Thank you again, everybody. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.